Let's see if I can get this more in focus for you. Some things about in directly from YouTube is I'm not entirely sure if my camera is going to like it. It seems I can't control my camera at the same time as controlling YouTube, which is a bit of a pain. I'm just going to hang around here until someone arrives. Why can't I control the camera? Just gonna see if anyone joins me, and then I'll pop the lid. I mean, if I move it around a little bit, if I can get the camera to notice it a bit more. Let's bring it in. See any better now? Still not very happy with life. That's irritating. Well, there's somebody else watching. Good evening. I'm just going to give it 1 minute more to see just in case anyone else joins. Then I'm going to start taking the lid off, if that's okay. I apologize for it looking a bit out of focus at the moment. I'm just trying this out on this stream and to see whether I can get control of it. I may well try OBS in the future because this is from YouTube Direct, and I'm really not sure how well it's going to go. All right, I'm going to pop the lid off. So this is something I got on eBay a little while ago, and Robotix, I don't think isn't particularly seen as massively collectible. So as a result, it's relatively cheap. So I just picked them up for old time's sake. It's actually the second lot I've got. I first fell across it in a vintage store locally to me, which is Cosmic Toys. And this one I got on eBay because it was a massively cheap deal. As you can see, it's got 4 motors in this particular set, so it's a big set. I remember having this one because it's got this huge battery box, is what I think it is here, and quite a sort of complex control system is available to you as well. And you can also see here it comes with various instructions for different things that you can actually create. So let me pop this open. You can see here. That's a good start. This is what you got in the box. And actually, this is probably slightly more than you originally got in the box. This is not behaving itself. All right, never mind. Let's pop it down here. So what I've got here is actually a combination of 2 sets, if I remember rightly. You can see here I've got some original stickers that were still in the set. So someone took really good care of this and didn't just sort of bin off the excess, which is nice. And those are mostly applied, but there are still a few remaining that haven't been. So I was really surprised when I came across those. So that's a set of spares. You can see various cogs and things. And interestingly, Robotix came out in 1984, and then a cartoon came out in 1985. But I've just been reading, and apparently it was actually produced up until a couple of years ago by STEM companies. So educational companies were still producing it, even into the sort of the modern day. And this looks like quite an interesting bag. Let me show you some of these pieces by way of example. So that looks like a foot to me. And you can see it's really solid, chunky plastic. And it all comes down to these hexagonal pieces here. These are the connectors. And as you'll see from the other pieces that I'll show you in due course, they just sort of link into various other pieces, as you might expect. And it wasn't entirely peaceful. So there were weapons. And again, this sort of cross piece there can be used to link it into the hexagonal slots that you get on normal pieces. But it was quite weapony. So, I really enjoyed this because although it's ostensibly just a construction toy, it's a little bit more weaponized than, for example, Lego was at the time, perhaps. And you've got radar dishes as well, satellite dishes. So, you could come up with quite a few nice technical details to it. It's rather like having a plastic model kit with that sort of level of detail on it, which perhaps Lego didn't tend to have, because Lego obviously tends to be quite smooth and you sort of create your own detail. Got a nice hook there with a rope on it. So that's quite cool. So you could build all sorts, and the idea with the cartoon, aside from being pure marketing, was to demonstrate that the machines could do more with a human piloting them than they could by themselves, basically. So the humans sort of lent the imagination factor, and they could reconfigure themselves. This is just a little seat, because they did come with action figures. I can't remember if there is an action figure in here. Yes, I can see one actually. Let me show you one of the action figures. I think the first example of this I got didn't have one, but this is one here. So if you ever come across a chap like this, it looks sort of slightly Star Wars-esque, but obviously isn't. He's got a nice flip-down helmet visor there. And the dead giveaway that he's Robotix is that he's got a hexagonal hole in his back. so that is a dead giveaway. If you find a figure like this that you don't recognise, but it's got a great big hexagon on the back, it's going to be Robotix. Interestingly, he's still got little studs in his holes in his feet. So I'm not sure what else he can attach to, but that suggests that he could actually sort of slot onto something else as well. I'll just sit him on the side for a moment. I mean, I can probably demonstrate that seat, can't I? If I can find it. The problem with having a whole bunch of black parts in it. So there you go. So he would sit quite happily into that, and then he could just sit external to the vehicle if you so wished. So that's quite cool. So I'll leave him off to one side for the time being. Let's see what else we've got. So this is the manual for the main large Argus box. So as you can see, it was all about sort of constructing these, but they don't give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it, which might seem counterintuitive, but I think the idea was that you use your own brain power, basically, and you construct it in that fashion. So you can see here the various examples of the stickers. I like these walker legs. So you could sort of kind of create your own ATSD out of that if you fancied it, if you were a Star Wars fan. And they are motorized, so you stick one of these little black motors in and a cog on the end of it to drive it, and then it goes, basically. The only problem is that if you want to control them directly, you have to tether them. So they need something to make them go, basically. I think you could put switches onto the actual vehicle, so you could probably sort of build in the switches to allow them to go. Sorry, that's a bit shiny, isn't it? That's a bit better. So here you've got all the main sort of components. You've got jaws, grab arms, drive axle gears, counterweights even. So all sorts of bits and bobs, various connectors. Even got cable tidies. Special features, which are the sort of things I was just showing you. Special features B. So I mean, this set had pretty much everything going in it, which is why I quite fancied having it, because it just gives you all sort of various options. Now, you can see what I mean. You see, that set of instructions is not for the faint-hearted. So basically, you're going to have to figure out everything for yourself, more or less. And I think that's the battery box in the middle there. And that is going to sort of form the center part of pretty much anything you do with this one. Although you can run, so you can see here that these little guys. I remember this quite clearly actually. This little guy has the yellow wires coming out of the back. So so the aim is you would link that through across to the control panel, and then you would sort of control him remotely using the controls, but the battery box would still have to be over here somewhere for him to be controllable. But I mean, the actual, in fairness, actually, that it's the instructions are more detailed. You can't really go on with that. I don't know. I mean, I could possibly try and make them, but I haven't actually got batteries in it. If there are batteries in it, I'd be surprised and possibly a little bit disappointed in a sense, because obviously leaving batteries and things for long periods of time would be a bad thing. But you can see there's all sorts of. I mean, they look pretty wacky, but I think that was kind of the point, because you could just do whatever you felt like doing, really. But these were just some examples that you could put together. So you've got an Argus space crane, Argus armored patrol, Argus G-force simulator. Even that's quite a clever one. So that'll presumably will whiz around and try and make your pilot throw up. But the clever thing was, of course, that it was all compatible with all the other sets as well. So you could build something like that from a couple of different sets pretty straightforwardly. So you could make quite large structures quite easily. The irony is, I probably bought it recently for far cheaper than it was when it came out originally, because this, I don't know, I mean, this was quite advanced for its time, I think, especially with the motors. Now this one, this is not, I don't think this is from the same set. Yeah, so this is what I got in the auction, you see. So I got this. This allegedly is a basic set. But this is the other sort of, these are the other parts I've got mixed in with this bundle. So a Robotix R1000 as well. But you still get a commander figure, a capsule, a canopy, and grab arms, and his backpack, which I now remember having seen that. So you can still create pretty neat stuff out of that. And this one has what it calls a power droid, but it's a much smaller battery pack than the one I was showing you for the Argus, because the Argus has to potentially drive 4 motors at the same time. So you've got quite a few construction options off the back of what you've got with the R1000 instructions as well. And I think everything that's in these packs is the R1000 element. So you can see these are the sort of the main structural elements that you get. The sort of the quite long ones, and you can mount stuff on the end of those. I mean, I literally haven't created anything significant with these. This is really the first time I've seriously had a close look at this. You've got these are quite cool. I'll show you these. Oh, hi, Mr. Gilberto. So you've got these are quite cool. You've got these roller skate feet, which are quite good fun, and you could put those on the bottom of the big battery box it was suggesting. I think so you could actually make it mobile, so it would move with the other stuff. Basically, that was quite a nice idea. These are the pincer arms. Do exactly what they say in the box. Basically, so you just get you need a pair, obviously, because you've got to have the right ones to. To actually form a gripping pair, but I think they actually fitted onto. If I just show you, this is one of the motors here. If I remember rightly, you basically slot one arm on there, and it would help if I had the other-handed arm. Bear with me. That one, yeah. So that one then will fit onto there, and it just clicks. I'm not quite sure if I've done that the right way around. Let's fit. So that's the motor. So that arm will fit on there. So you can feel that. That's the noise. Oof, probably should have done that. Let's try that again. Scratch one motor. Hopefully not, but you never know. Satisfying pop when you get them out, and then I'm sure I've done that the wrong way around. Actually, that's got to be wrong. Hang on. Okay, try that again. So that goes on there. That goes on there, and then because they're interlinked, the moving one basically moves the other. That's the basic gist of it. I'm not demonstrating it very well here because there's no power, but you can see that's how they would move, and they would move together then. So you move just have to move one, and the other one opens. That's better. That's a better demonstration, I think. So it's, it's all very clever stuff. It's just simple mechanical stuff, but it's really good solid plastic. That's not snapping anytime soon. In fact, it probably would have done had I just tried that. So the sort of main control cockpits are here, and you've got quite nice stickers. So they weren't just doing it, off the cuff. It was nicely detailed stuff. So as you can see, it's got sort of side paneling, stickers all around. So really good, and you can apply those or not as you saw fit. Because these elements were all plastic. I think I used to put these in the bath. Pretty sure I would have put these in the bath at some point because you could. Not advisable with the stickers on, obviously, but if you hadn't applied stickers, they're not going to be fussed by a bit of water because it's just plastic. So it was quite versatile like that. I remember very distinctly flying these around as spaceships because they've kind of got thrusters built into the back of them there. So given the state of my imagination, they would have been spaceships pretty rapidly. But that's quite a useful connector on the bottom there. So you could just slot them onto any sort of given piece, and immediately you've got something that you can then hang other pieces off, and off you go basically from that point. It's really, really clever. And it's just detailed. I mean, for me, as a kid growing up in the sort of early 80s, watching old school science fiction, the level of detailing on these is absolutely spot on for that sort of thing, because they do look like they could have just come straight out of an old science fiction movie, because they're out of sort of greebling on them. And speaking of sort of sciencey fiction stuff, if you like your dinosaurs, then you get this chap. And as you might imagine, this is a classic sort of Jaws opening and shutting kind of guy. So you attach a motor inside this element, and then you just have a nice opening mouth. So again, really, really nicely designed. It's got sort of suggestion of an eyeball there. And in the cartoons, of course, this was the major sort of head of one of the key characters whose name won't come to me. But they all got names in the cartoon rather than just being. In fact, it might even be Argus. They probably did have. They probably did take their names from the sets. Thinking about it, we've got a few more goodies in here. You've got nice RCS thruster there, which again is it's a nice touch. It's hello, Mark. Hiya. So you've got a nice RCS thruster there that you can sort of slot onto stuff. So again, that for me would have gone straight onto there as a sort of control system for the pilot pod, and to give them an extra bit of boost back as well. You see, so it's all good physics stuff, isn't it? What else have we got in here? So we've got a made up walker legs. So ATST eat heart out, because this one was properly motorized and it would go. Often what you do is give it some wheels on the front or whatever, like those roller skates I showed you earlier, and then it would just sort of merrily sort of push itself along with a motor mounted in here. You can see the cog there that it sort of fits into to provide the drive from the motor. So again, it's really, really clever stuff, and it just all nicely kind of balances itself out if you get it right. So also good. And that's I haven't tested this yet. Don't know if it actually does still work, but you've basically got forward and reverse, and obviously just a sort of a neutral setting in the middle. 5 output ports into which these very tidily done yellow wires go. So one plug in one side, other plug into the. Interestingly, this is actually the smaller batteries. That's the smaller battery packs. That probably came from the basic set. So you just pop a couple of AA batteries in there, and then that drives your motor on the other end. And this big box is here is just repeating that on a larger scale, basically. If that had worked, I would have been very surprised. Half thought it did, but I think that was just psychosomatic on my part. But anyway, that's the core of the system there, basically. That's what you need to as a bare bones sort of example to get it going. That's the counterweight. That's got serious sort of heft to it. So that's if you need to counterbalance something, you can put that on an arm and just stabilize your creation with that. I imagine there's probably a bit of lead in there or something. I don't know. Um, what else have we got? We have wheels of various flavors. So nice, big, thin wheels there if you want it to go fast. Slightly chunkier, grippier wheels there if you want it to climb, perhaps. And obviously, those are the drums, the wheels to the tires to go onto. This is that's the big boy power pack. So I'm going to have to investigate what batteries this actually takes. It would be quite good to make up a model at some point, just to see how it goes. Can I actually open that as easy as it suggests I can? Yeah, possibly. If I had more than one hand, it would probably help. Fortunately, gravity isn't quite going to be friendly enough to let me do it. I don't think. Well, if I had an assistant, I could probably do it, but I haven't. A minute, I can't. But anyway, in there hopefully is an uncorroded battery box, which then provides the power into here, through that connection, obviously, and then out we go to the to 5 motors. So it's quite a hefty set. This one, there's no two ways about it. It's a very hefty set. I've got another. I have another command figure there. So again, obviously the hexagon on the back. And I'm not sure if he came as part of the Argus or if he's from the additional basic set. But it's nice to have two actually, because actually he probably was part of the set because there was space in here for two the command modules. So he's probably from this set actually. Yeah, it's the thing is Zoids are on a much smaller scale than this. It is a kind of similar idea, I agree, but this is much chunkier. And the early Zoids were all wind up, if you remember, whereas this is out and out powered. It's not messing about basically. This I would put on a par with things like Big Track. It's got that sort of feel to it. I think it's more that sort of era. I think there were two examples of powered Zoids, if I remember right, the early doors before the sort of the Great Gorgons and stuff came out. And actually, the Great Gorgons, in terms of scale, were probably more similar to this. But of course, the androids in the Zoids were tiny little things, whereas these guys are more sort of I don't know. I don't actually know how tall they stand. I'll have a look. So these are 3.5 inches. I don't know what that. How is that in toy scale? Is that a sort of standardy sort of height for a figure, or I'm not sure. I'm trying to think. In fact, haven't I got? Hang on. Bear with while I introduce a guest star to proceed with the search today. Oh, I knew that was going to happen at some point. That's my Heath Robinson lighting system. Right. Let's hope that doesn't fall down again. I'm just hoping I can introduce a guest star, but of course, knowing me, I won't be able to find him now. Now I've said that. How much would you like to bet? No, I've got him. Aha. So he's about 0.8 Wookiees high, something like that. So he's not quite as tall as Chewie, but then obviously Chewie was quite a tall chap. So yeah, about on a par, really. I mean, not ridiculously shorter. That's about and he is instantly the only Star Wars figure currently in my possession. I believe he is OG. So would anyone like to tell me what the sound and the video? what I'm finding annoying with this webcam is when I'm running it straight off YouTube, I can't make it focus lower down. Its focus is fixed. It's annoying me quite a lot at the moment, and I am thinking about getting something as an alternative. But if everything else is okay, then I guess that'll have to do for now. Yeah, seems quite cool. Now they did have these guys also have backpacks. Where is? I haven't seen a backpack for them. That's a sort of miscellaneous control panel. It just had all sorts of really sort of interesting little bits that you could just add to the stuff you've got. I wonder if they should definitely have backpacks with weapons attached. In theory, that might be the smaller connectors there. Those are quite handy as well. They're sort of just extenders basically. And T-joints. You see, I just like the attention to detail because none of these are just kind of smooth. They've all got little bits of sort of creeping to them, but they're all really, really solid. I'm looking at those earlier bags and see if there are any of the backpacks in them. I'm sure there should have been, but I must admit I haven't. If I'd have spotted one so far, I would have got it out. No, well, possibly the quest will have to continue for weapons because I don't think that this bag's got any in, which is mildly annoying given how many other things there are in it. I mean, if you want to go for complete overkill, you can always do that and give him a humongous weapon just stuck straight onto his back. Yeah, it does. It would weigh a ton when fully loaded. I completely agree. The fact that I could actually easily lift it was a pretty dead giveaway that there was, in fact, nothing in there. And as I said, I would have been disappointed because the one overwhelming feature that I've had of the robotic sets that I've had to date is that they are really well looked after. I mean, I think they'd be really hard to damage anyway, but the fact this one still had stickers in it is crazy. Because you would think that that would be the last thing that was left spare. That's quite a cool little landing strut. That you could almost do sort of an eagle lander out of that. There's all sorts of really sort of nice little touches, which in a sort of kids' toys above and beyond, really. Oh yeah, I found the other end of the pulley system. That's obviously the sort of the winch aspect of it. And again, that could probably be powered. You can actually power the crane and lift things up in a powered fashion with the crane. I'm just wondering, what did I do with the? Oh, yeah. Let's have a quick look because I'd be very surprised if these guys weren't supposed to come. If I remember the backpack, there was an illustration of the commander in here somewhere. But actually, in fairness to whoever sold me this, I can't actually see a backpack as a component listing. That's interesting. I wonder if they came later or something. I definitely remember them having some sort of plug-in backpack for the commanders. I'm just trying to find yeah, can you see? There we go. Can you see this chap here? A bit nearer. See, this chap's got a backpack with an aerial, so he's got a sort of radio pack. They definitely existed. It's not just me. I'm not making it up. They definitely did have backpacks for the figures. But for whatever reason, this particular set doesn't seem to mention them, which is curious. Unless it's because the figures in this one sit inside the cockpit. So maybe if they were sort of cockpit-based figures, they didn't need to bother with the the backpacks because they figured it was just kind of, unnecessary because they'd never be able to use them because you probably couldn't wear them when they were inside the vehicles. Let me have a look at this small. Ah, no, see, this small is. See, he does have one. He's definitely got one. So I don't know quite what the crack is with that because I don't think I've seen that piece anywhere. It does. It doesn't sort of scream backpack at me, I must admit. But I wonder if. See, he isn't. Is he the same as the figures I've got, or is that different? He does look about the same, I think. So same boots, probably the same front, but ironically, the actual figure looks more detailed than the photo does. So somewhere there might be that backpack. The problem is because it's dark grey plastic, like everything else is dark grey plastic. It may be quite hard to pick it out from everything else. But I thought you'd be able to see it. And I remember this. This is also quite a nice touch because there's absolutely no reason for having this other than the fact that it works as a handhold for them. Just about. This one's obviously his hand has seen use, so it doesn't quite grip on. But I think in my mind that was kind of to allow them to grip onto it if they were going EVA or something. They could just kind of hold on to it. So although he can grip it, it's not very convincing. Maybe when he was younger, he could have done. That's not bad. And I do wonder. I still don't. I'm still a bit of a puzzle as to why he's got stud holes in his boots when there doesn't seem to be anything obvious for him to slot onto. So that's kind of odd. But on the same basis, of course, Chewie's got exactly the same thing on his feet. So maybe it's just the fashion of those days that he would slot that on. Cool. Yeah, so it's a bit of a mystery as to where I don't know. Perhaps I just haven't got quite all the. I mean, it could still be in here. I mean, there is a shed load of. You can see there's a shed load of stuff in there, and it's just a sort of an amalgamated mass of. Oh, do you know what? I've seen it. I knew that was going to happen. I thought as soon as I say that, I'm going to spot it, and lo and behold, there it is. So there is indeed a backpack for him. Brilliant. I'm not sure if that's completely complete, but it probably isn't far off, I suspect. So there you go. So that's pretty. So again, it's just a nice little touch that because they didn't have to give him that. But it's again, it's quite a sort of detailed thing. It could be a life support or whatever. That's cool. So yeah, I mean, it was really good value auction. As I say, somebody had the trouble of putting the various sort of loose pieces from the smaller box into plastic bags and things like that. It always makes me smile when people take that much effort over an eBay auction. So you can see very clearly that is actually. That makes perfect sense now because if you look, that's obviously the pack that's in this R1000 set that was put in with this R4000 set. And I wonder if that's only one of them I've got because there's no mention of the pack in the contents list of the R4000. So that's probably the only example of it I've actually got at this point. And that presumably is part of the. I don't know if there's a components list for this one. In fact, the sticker sheet might even be for this one, possibly from looks of this. There isn't actually a list there, but you can see that's really good value because it's basically saying even from the sort of the basic set, you can potentially build all this stuff, which is pretty cool. I mean, there's just some very, very clever ideas from a relatively limited range of component parts, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it's an ideal thing for a rainy day if you just want to mess about. I mean, ironically, the thing that I probably enjoyed the most was the cockpit piece because it had so many different connection points on it. You could stick a big gun on the front of it quite easily and just sort of fly it around. So it kind of works like a sort of modular Star Wars ship on almost, because you can actually sort of build on it and make it into whatever you want it to look like. So if you want to make it into something like out of Battlestar Galactica or whatever, you can do that. The only thing you're really lacking is wings. Although I've got another set sat in the cupboard that's actually got kind of solar panels, and they can double as wings if you want them to. Let's just try a little experiment here as he's out. I wonder if he can actually. I've actually got Chewie in there, so so it could be a backup vehicle for your Star Wars figures as well, because he fits rather nicely in there. I mean, literally, he's a little snug on his headroom, but actually, that's a surprisingly good fit, considering he's actually taller than the Robotix figure. So I've no idea if anyone's ever done that before or tried that as a concept, but apparently they are compatible with Star Wars figures. Well, he's some of them. So there you go. Brilliant. So, I mean, if you just wanted something to play with your kids, this is, this, given the state of the times. I mean, obviously Lego sets are really, really expensive, and picking something like this on eBay is actually really, really cheap, because it's not they do come up fairly frequently, and people aren't paying ridiculous amounts for them, not asking to pay ridiculous amounts for them. So I can't actually remember how much I paid for this, but it wasn't a huge amount. So I just think it's a really good alternative sometimes. You just go on eBay, find an old kit like this if you happen to know of it, and bought your uncle. And it's just it's a good construction toy, and still is, because this one's so bloody durable. This is very probably near as damn it 40 years old, and I can still, yeah, it's brilliant, epic. I mean, it's just recycling, isn't it, at the end of the day. Um, Upcycling potentially, I suppose, if you wanted to start, colouring it in. Apparently, the educational versions of it did actually get recoloured. I've not put Chewie back in there because that wouldn't really be appropriate. They just made them sort of stand out a bit more. I think another example, actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of a thing called Polydron. I don't think I've ever actually done a video on Polydron. I should try and fish it out, because that's still being sold as a stemmed sort of construction toy. But that was just polygons that you can interconnect. And that was brilliant, because for me, that means I can make old school elite spaceships out of it. All you need is triangles. It's great. Right, I'm going to put those away. I might have to look back at the video to see where these originally came out of. Yeah, that was a schoolboy error on my part, wasn't it? Was it in there? Yeah. Is it in there? Possibly. All right, I'll look at the video and see where they're supposed to go back. I might have a half a chance of actually fitting them back in the right places. You never know. Grand. Well, thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Definitely need to find a better way to broadcast these, because this is just, normally it focuses, but I don't know. I think I inadvertently got a camera which wasn't that. It is only a webcam. It's not a proper camera. So any suggestions for a decent camera to use would be welcome, because then you would have independent controls. You wouldn't be reliant on the computer. But I might also try setting up OBS to do this a little bit better as well. Or possibly, is it Streamlabs or StreamYards? I always want to call it StreamYards for some reason. But that's my other option, isn't it? I think so. I'm probably going to call it a day there. I think, because I think I've gone through pretty much everything that's in the pack, and I found his backpack. So that was happy days from my point of view. So, there's now 4 watching. Is there anything you'd like to see in particular, whoever just joined? I was about to shut it down, but I can carry on if you'd like. I'm looking at the chat, so I will see if you type anything. Show you some nice pincers. If anyone would like me to actually sort of power one of these up, and I did test the I got the Tyrannics, I think it was, set, and that motor did still work. So did obviously the battery pack. So I would say that if they've been kept in reasonable condition, they probably will still work, which for a 40-year-old toy is impressive, to say the least. So if you would like to actually see a model working, I can I can source some more batteries and get everything set up, and then I could perhaps actually try and build one a live stream as well if you fancied it. So just let me know in the comments, and I can get that set up, no problem. All right, so I'm going to call it a night there. So thanks for joining me, and if this has worked out okay, then I might try and do a few more of these. So I'm told that this is the way forward in terms of watch hours these days. Thank you, Blue Harvest. So, oh, now there's 5 watching. Well, you see, now I feel guilty because I was about to go, but oh no, there's 4 watching. It's dropped down again. Does anyone want to see anything else before I stop? Or ask a question? Anything at all? Yes? No? Okay, cool. I will leave it there then. Thanks all. Cheers for now.